3 urban legends occurred in Beijing. Submitted by FUMALOT_723. The first story. A few decades ago, a tailor managed a shop around the south gate of ancient Beijing city. The tailor was skillful and friendly, that's why his shop was famous in Beijing. One day, in the middle of the night, when the tailor had just gone to bed, someone started calling him. The tailor asked the visitor what he wanted. The visitor said he just wanted to buy some needles and strings. The tailor was afraid that the visitor was probably a robber, so the tailor just opened a small window and handed the needles and strings out. At this point, the tailor attempted to see the customer's face but merely found there was a bracelet in the wrist of the customer. Afterward, the visitor paid for the items and left. Soon after that, the tailor also returned to his bed. The next day, some customers visited the tailor's shop, and they were discussing a story. In their words, a culprit who had been beheaded disappeared last night, and surprisingly, when they found his body, his head was attached back to the body. Also, the body was holding some needles and strings. Some people recognized that these needles and strings were sold by the tailor, so they came here to inquire about the tailor, whether anything strange happened last night. This tailor dubitated and then came to see the body of the culprit. At first glance, the tailor saw his needles and strings, and when he saw that there was the same bracelet he saw last night in the body's wrist. The tailor was scared out of his mind and then told them what happened last night. After hearing this story, a doctor who owned a pharmacy nearby was not surprised at all and responded calmly, "My friend, it is not a big deal. Every month at midnight, some poor guys visit my pharmacy to buy some vulnerary, and the man you met was one of them." The second story. If you'd ask me to tell one of the most famous urban legends in China, then this will be the first story I tell you because almost everyone in China who was born after the 1980s has heard this story. I have read many different versions of this story on the internet, but I would like to select this one, which seems more reliable. One night in the year 1995, a bus was running in the suburb of Beijing, and the number of this bus was 375. Around the gate of a high school, a young man was waiting for this bus, because only this bus could take him home. When he found this bus, he started to wave his hands instantly. After boarding on this bus, the young man sat behind an old lady and found that there were 6 people on the bus, including himself, the driver and conductor. Quickly, the young man attempted to have a break because he was already exhausted. A few minutes later, the bus stopped again, and 2 men got up. The young man glanced at the 2 men and found both of them were poker-faced. The 2 men did not talk, just sat down and kept silent. Suddenly, the old lady in front of the young man stood up and grabbed the young man tightly. "Nasty guy, how dare you to try to steal my wallet?" The young man was confused, so he replied, "I think there's some misunderstanding, I was sleeping just now. How could I have done that, and I never touched your wallet?" The old lady did not buy that and asked the driver to stop the bus immediately because there was a police station nearby. The bus driver didn't seem interested in the matter, so he stopped the bus to let the old lady and the young man leave. After stepping out of this bus, the young man asked innocently, "Dear lady, I never touch your pocket, why are you blaming me? I am just a student." However, the response of this lady was so surprising, "Handsome boy, I have saved your life just now." The young man did not understand, so the old lady continued to explain what happened and why she asked the driver to stop the bus. "Handsome boy, did you notice the 2 men who boarded the bus at last?" The young man nodded. The old lady then continued, "When the 2 of them went through me, I found something strange. Neither of them had feet, do you understand? In other words, instead of walking on the bus, they were floating just now. Therefore, I am afraid that they were not human beings, you know what I mean." The young man was scared and determined to report this to the police. There was a police station nearby. The young man told the police what the old lady has said. As you can imagine, the police did not believe the young man. However, at that same time, the news channel on the police station's radio reported that a few minutes ago, not far away from here, a 375 bus went down a cliff. There were 4 bodies on the bus, including the driver and the conductor. The third story. If you know something about China, then I bet you must know about Beibao Mountain. This mountain is famous because the graveyards of top Chinese politicians are located here. And this story is about Beibao Mountain Station. One day, a man who worked so late that he came from work around 11:30 p.m., the subway was closed at this time. This man's home was so remote that he wanted to give a try to get on the tube because calling a taxi was very expensive. To his surprise, There was a train that would drive towards the man's house. The man got on the train happily. After sitting down, this man felt something slightly strange. Generally, when it was around 12 a.m., this train would be full of people. Furthermore, these people seemed very tired, and their clothes were worn out. The man was so exhausted that he didn't think much of it. In each station, there would be an audio notification, so the man closed his eyes and took a nap. A few minutes later, he heard an audio notification that the train had arrived at Beijing Mountain Station, and he saw that many people got off. He was surprised by why so many people got off here because this was not a significant station. He was exhausted, so he closed his eyes again, and the train started back. After a few minutes, he heard an audio notification that said, this train had arrived at Beijing Mountain Station. He was surprised to hear that because he remembered that he had just listened to the same message at the last station. Also, he found that there was nobody on the train. He did not understand why he heard the same message twice and where the other people have disappeared.